What's up, friend? Welcome to the Pour Over podcast, the pod for Christians to grow together and learn how to pour into others. I'm your host, Kyla. Today, we are going to talk about healthy habits that changed my life. But before we do that, I want to take a moment to pray for whoever's listening, whoever you are, wherever you're at. Let's just take a moment to go together before the Lord. Father, I thank you so much for this day. God, I thank you that we have yet another opportunity to better ourselves and grow closer to you. God, I lift up whoever's listening to this episode today. Lord, I just pray that whatever they're walking through, whatever they're dealing with, God, I pray that they lay it at your feet. And Lord, as we get into this discussion of healthy habits that can really change our lives, God, I pray that you encourage us to really be intentional because our bodies are temples of your Holy Spirit, Lord. So, God, I pray that after listening to today's episode, we leave feeling inspired and motivated to really take control of our health because our bodies do matter, God, and our lives do matter. And it is so important to be intentional about our lifestyle. So, Lord, I just pray that this episode finds whoever needs to hear it, Lord, and that through this episode, through this discussion, God, we are encouraged not only to take care of ourselves for our own selves, but also for you, Lord. God, I lift up this episode and I pray that it is fruitful and encouraging and motivating, Lord. I thank you for everything you are doing on this podcast and in the lives of the people who love you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, let's get into it. Hello, podcast family. Welcome back to another episode of the Pour Over podcast. Usually, I will do a big long introduction or I'll talk about my life, what's going on, what you guys can expect from the podcast. But honestly, I am so excited to get into today's episode. It's something that I am very passionate about, that I'm excited to share. So, you know what? All I'm going to say is make sure you're following the podcast Instagram. It is at the Pour Over Pod. You can stay tuned for all the updates that are coming your way. But without further ado, let's get into healthy habits that have changed my life. Okay, the first healthy habit that has changed my life is exercising multiple times a week. Now, when I say this, I really want to encourage you to find the right exercise for you because for some people it's Pilates, for some people it's running, for others it's hiking or weightlifting or swimming or dancing. There are so many different types of exercise out there, and you need to find the right one that works for you and your body and your own goals because the way you move your body will help it change in different ways and will also do different things to your body. So, really be intentional about what your goals are with your exercise journey and then find a good form of exercise to help you reach that goal. And this is also really important because if you don't find the right exercise that works for you, that you actually look forward to, you're not going to do it. It's just how it is. If you force yourself into something and it's not something that you can actually learn to really like and you just have to make yourself do it, you're not going to make yourself do it. You're going to give up because no one wants to do something that they don't want to do. That's just how it is. That's just common sense. And if you really don't like the kind of exercise that you do and you're forcing yourself into it, don't do it. Find a different form of exercise. Like I said, there's so many different kinds. And when you find one that you actually enjoy, that is where you can start to really create a habit and you can even start to enjoy it a little bit. But I do say exercising multiple times a week is important because not only is it better for your body just because you're doing it more often, but also doing it multiple times a week consistently helps create a habit. And then before you know it, it won't feel like a chore. It will come more naturally. And again, you might start to actually look forward to it. For me personally, I never thought I would say this, but I actually have really learned to enjoy running, which is crazy because when I was younger, you couldn't pay me $100 to go for a run. I just wouldn't do it. I was a dancer full time and I really liked moving my body in that way. That was my form of exercise. I was exercising basically every single day. So I didn't want to go for a run. I wanted to dance. But now that I've gotten a little bit older, I have found the beauty in running and I really do like how it makes my body feel. I love the way I feel when I run. And I've also started to pick up things like going for walks. That is a huge one for me. I talked about it on the podcast before about how I love going for walks. I feel like it's a really underrated form of exercise, but I also really do enjoy hiking. I love getting outside, being in nature, and challenging myself a little bit. Hiking is one of my favorite forms of exercise. I highly recommend it wherever you're at. I'm sure there's a trail you can hike in your area. I definitely recommend hiking. I think it's great to get outside and exercise. But if you want to exercise indoors, that works too. You can always go swimming, you can always do Pilates. Again, find what works for you and then do that multiple times a week. It's really been a journey for me finding what exercise I enjoy that I know I can make myself do, that I know I will be consistent with. And again, like I said, I've learned to really love cardio, which again is really crazy because I never thought I would say that, but I do enjoy things like running and hiking and walking. And I also really do enjoy the different machines at the gym as well. I feel like I have a good routine down there. But again, find what works for you and exercise multiple times a week. The next healthy habit that has changed my life is spending time outside in the sun. This is one I know I need to do more often. But being outdoors really is so good for you. Being in nature is good for you. You need vitamin D. You need to spend time in the sun. It's literally something your body requires. It's just something your body needs. God did not create you to spend all your time indoors locked away in your dark room. I know for some of you that might sound crazy, but I'm telling you, being outside in the sun is actually really good for you. And there are even times when I can tell I've been inside for too long because I started to just feel kind of gross. And so I walk out to my backyard and I just sit or stand in the sun for like 5 to 10 minutes and I just let my body absorb the vitamin D and absorb the light of the sun and I actually end up feeling so much better because, again, it's something your body needs. If all you do is spend all your time inside and you never go outside, it's going to take a toll on you. Your body is not created to be like that. So, definitely spending time outside in the sun does make a huge difference. I can actually feel a physical difference when I get outside in the sun and I allow myself to soak up the UV rays from the sun. It makes me feel more alive. The next healthy habit that has changed my life is being mindful with my meals. And this includes me asking myself things like, okay, how much am I eating? How much of my plate is vegetables? How much of my plate is protein? Is this enough to fuel me for what is next? Because if it's a travel day, I'm going to eat something different on that day versus a day when I'm going to work out. I personally don't like to eat really heavily before I travel because number one, if you eat heavily and you gotta go to the bathroom and you're traveling, you may not have the ideal bathroom anytime soon or anywhere close to you. So that's one reason not to eat super heavily before you travel. But also, I tend to feel a little like claustrophobic when I travel. So I don't want to put a ton of heavy food in my system. It's just going to weigh me down and make me feel gross. So I won't eat a lot on a day when I'm going to travel. But if I'm going to do a really intense workout, I'm going to eat a little bit more because I don't want to run off of nothing while I'm working out. My body won't have any energy created for me to work out if I don't have anything in my system. So and I won't be able to have the ideal workout. I won't be able to put as much effort and energy into the workout and get as good of a workout as I would like if I'm running on empty when I'm exercising. So, with this, you really just have to be intentional about what you're eating. As I've gotten older, I have noticed that my body just kind of likes healthier food more. Do I enjoy my Canes and my Chick-fil-A and my Applebee's, my In-N-Out? Of course, I'm still a foodie. I do have to say I am a food girl. I love trying new foods. There's honestly nothing I won't try at least once. I love trying new foods. I love trying new restaurants and exploring my food options. But as I've gotten older, I've been more intentional with what I'm actually putting in my body. Now, I do have to say this just as we're getting into being intentional with your portions and what you're eating. If you don't want to get to a point where you're not feeding yourself enough, okay? Please hear me when I say this. When I tell you that I'm being intentional about how much I'm eating, I mean I'm making sure that I'm eating enough. I'm making sure that whatever my day looks like, I'm giving myself enough fuel for what is to come that day. So, as I'm talking about things like portion control and being intentional about how much you're eating and what you're eating, I need to tell you, and I need you to hear me on this, you need to properly fuel your body. I am not telling you that you should cut back all your meals by an insane amount. No, you need to make sure that you are properly fueling your body. And for me right now, I personally have started to cut back on some of my portions a little bit because I am sitting in an office all day and I'm not burning a bunch of calories because I'm sitting at a desk for 8 hours of the day. But I also know if I'm going to exercise after work right away, then I need to make sure that I have some carbs and protein and water in my system. So, for me, a huge part of my health journey has been adjusting my diet and my meals. And I'm not going to say it's easy because it's really not. I actually think this has been one of the hardest parts of my health journey is controlling my meals and being intentional with what I'm eating because naturally, like I said, I'm a foodie. I love different foods and it's a struggle for me. But when I've really taken control of what I'm eating and not just eat whatever's around me and I'm being mindful of what I'm putting in my body, I have really noticed a difference in the way I feel every single day. I've started to notice that if I eat a bunch of heavy, greasy food all at once and I'm not really doing anything to burn it off, my stomach starts to hurt. I just feel gross and it just does not make my body happy the way it used to. Maybe that's because I'm getting older and my body's changing a little bit. But again, this has been a huge part of my health journey. It's been a struggle that I really had to work for and fight through. But if I can do it, you can do it. And I have noticed a difference. I've noticed that when I'm eating more vegetables and more protein, I have more energy, I feel more alive, and I feel like I'm ready for the day and I feel good in my body versus when I'm eating a bunch of junk food and I just feel disgusting. So, definitely being mindful with my meals has made a huge difference. The next healthy habit that has changed my life is understanding my skin type. I actually have been through quite the journey with my skin and with my acne, but I know that I have oily skin. That's just the kind of skin that the good Lord gave me. And I'm not quite sure why, but it is what it is. I'll take it. But for me, understanding my skin type is so important because if I am going to take care of my body, that includes not just the stuff that's on the inside, but what's on the outside as well. Your skin is very important and it's very essential that you take care of it. So for me, understanding what my skin type is was really essential to adding healthy habits into my life. And that includes, finding what works for me, finding what serums work, what moisturizers work, being intentional with what kind of makeup and skincare I'm buying and what I'm eating and how that affects my skin and how my different hormones with different times of the month affect my skin as well. It takes a lot of work. It really does. But understanding my skin type and then kind of working with that and going from there, that has really helped me in my whole health journey because, again, your skin matters. Just because it's not on the inside, that doesn't mean it's not something that you need to take care of. I think skincare is very important. It's good not just for you mentally because of course you want to have good skin, you want to feel good in your skin, but it's also just good for your overall health and there's so many different factors that can affect the way that your skin is. So, it's also really important because the way your skin looks on the outside is directly correlated to what is going on the inside as well. So oftentimes, whatever's going on with your skin can give you some clues as to what is going on inside of your body with different things. So understanding my skin type has been really important. And again, it's been a journey. I'm still working with it, but I really do believe that it's so important that we take care of our skin. The next healthy habit that has changed my life is not being afraid to speak up at my doctor's appointments. If I'm being honest, I really don't know a lot of my family's medical history. I know a few people on my dad's side have had cancer and heart problems, and because my mom was adopted, I really don't know that much about her health history. And, as far as genetic conditions, I'm kind of in the dark. But what I do know, I bring up at doctor's appointments and I ask questions. And I haven't always been able to do this. It's definitely been a little bit of a journey on this topic. I am going to say I do have something called PMDD. It's called premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And I won't get into all the nitty gritty details because I know I will have some guys listening. However, just to shed some light on it, PMDD essentially it's like PMS symptoms, but on steroids and a little bit more severe, and it really takes a toll on your mental as well as your physical, but really your mental and emotional health the week before your period. You can do your research on it. Again, I won't go into all the details, but I do know that I have PMDD and I've kind of had the symptoms for a while. I've had them for actually a few years and I really just thought I was crazy and I just thought that there was something wrong with me. And then I started doing research and I found out about PMDD and I was like, "Oh, okay, like, as a young woman, this is something that has to do with different hormones in my body. I need to talk to my gynecologist about it." And so I made an appointment with a gynecologist and I was super optimistic. I was thinking that I was going to go into the appointment and really just be able to speak up for myself and voice my concerns, voice my opinions, voice my research that I had done and have a really great conversation, right? Because I made an appointment with a woman and I was like, listen, this girl is a girl's girl. She's going to get it. She's totally going to want to help me out. She'll listen to me, she'll hear me out, and she'll be able to give me some good advice. Well, that is not what happened. I went to this appointment very optimistic and I left feeling very discouraged for a lot of reasons. And it's partially because some things went on at the appointment that I really wasn't prepared for, that I wasn't really okay with, but I was just kind of like, sure, whatever, no big deal, because I have not had a lot of history with a gynecologist. So I was like, okay, whatever, maybe this is just something that I need to do. And it wasn't, but that's okay. And then when I had the conversation with her, it really went negatively and she didn't really hear me out. She was just kind of quick to prescribe me something and I feel like wasn't even really sure that it was the right medication for me, that it was the right thing for me to put into my body. But again, she's the doctor and she kind of told me I didn't really have any options. So I just went with whatever she pushed on me, if I'm being honest. And I ended up taking this medication, really was not great. I had a really bad experience with it. And yeah, it was not great. I was not happy at all. And again, I really only did what she said because I was like, well, she's a doctor, she knows best. But at that appointment, I very much felt like she was just not listening to me. She was basically just passing over what I was trying to explain to her and what I was experiencing, and she was basically like, "Okay, whatever, just take this medication, you'll be fine. And if you don't wanna take it, whatever, you'll just have to get over it." And that's kind of how the conversation went. I was very disappointed. didn't have a great experience with this medication, got off of it very quickly. I feel like I actually didn't even give it a full chance because I really just had a very negative experience with it. But then I knew I needed to take care of this PMDD that I was dealing with because it got really bad. I talked to some of my other friends that have dealt with it, and it was really rough. And I got to a really bad place, and I was like, I need to take care of this. I'm getting older. I need to voice my opinion and take care of myself. And I know there's options. I need to talk to a doctor about this, and I need to get good answers. So I made an appointment almost a year later with a different doctor, and actually, it was a year later. And it was with a different doctor who came very highly recommended. And I'm telling you, when I was able to go in, voice my concerns, and she really heard me out, and I gave her the full details about everything I'd been experiencing, it made a huge difference. It made a huge difference. And of course, part of this was it was a different doctor, but also I was a lot more confident in myself and in what I knew about my body and this thing that I'd been dealing with for a while. I was a lot more confident, and that made the appointment so different. It made it so different because at the first appointment, I didn't really have a lot of experience and I didn't know a lot. And I was really afraid to say, no, doctor, I don't want to do that. Find another option for me. But the reality is, I feel like sometimes we just feel the need to tell the doctors, okay, whatever you want to do because you know best. And yes, I absolutely believe we need to trust our medical community. However, as human beings, as individuals who have this body that God gave us, we also need to take responsibility and we need to be honest and upfront with our doctors. And we need to take a little bit of ownership over our bodies and say, hey, this is what's happening. And I respect your opinion, but these are my opinions. And we really need to work together and collaborate to find the best option for me. Not just whatever option you say to all of your patients, but whatever works best for me as an individual. So for me, a healthy habit that has really changed my life is not being afraid to speak up at my doctor's appointments. We can absolutely be tempted to just kind of go with whatever people tell us, but it's important that we understand that our bodies are a temple of the Holy Spirit, and it is our responsibility to take care of our bodies. That's why I am talking about this on this episode. That's why I'm getting into physical, mental, emotional health because our health matters. The Lord gave us these bodies for a reason, and it is our responsibility to do our part on this earth to take care of it. And part of that includes speaking up about what is going on with your body. You got to take some ownership, take some responsibility, and not be afraid to say no to a doctor because the doctor is there to find what is, yes, going to get you healthy, but also what is good for you. And if you say yes to something that you don't really want to say yes to, you could end up, like me, having a really negative experience with something and it doesn't really solve your problems. And with this new doctor that I talked to, we were able to come to a consensus about how we wanted to proceed, and I've already felt so much better. I haven't had as many issues, and I do firmly believe, yes, it's partially because it's a different doctor, but also because I was adamant about voicing my concerns and taking ownership of my body and speaking up at my doctor's appointment. The next healthy habit that has changed my life is spending time with the people I love. And this is getting more into mental and emotional health, but those are both still very relevant things. Those are both things that go into our overall health and they matter. So, of course, we need to discuss them. But I actually feel a physical difference too after spending time with the people that I love, whether it's a close friend or a family member. Sometimes I just get in my head and I get kind of wrapped up in my own world. But when I spend time with a family member or with a close friend and I get in community, it leaves me feeling so refreshed and so alive. And it really does make a difference in my mental and emotional health when I know that I've gotten into community and I've shared what's going on in my life and I've gotten stuff from someone else as well. It does make a huge difference. And it is, I think, a healthy habit that we need to get into, not doing it just once every 8 months, but actually actively, consistently getting into community is a habit that we need to implement. Another healthy habit that has changed my life is not getting caught up in gossip and drama. For some of you, that might be a little bit difficult. Some of you might like the tea. You might like hearing about all the hard things that are going on in people's life. And let me just tell you, you can be there for people and be a good support system without getting wrapped up in their drama. You don't need to be transported to the center of whatever's going on in order to help people and be a light in their lives and be a support to them. When I stopped getting wrapped up in drama and I started saying no to listening to gossip and bad things that people were saying about other people and rumors, when I just started separating myself from that, it made a huge difference. It really did. And trust me, I get it. I understand that sometimes the gossip's really good and you just want to, maybe you don't want to be a part of it, but you do want to hear it still. No, don't do it because it will take a toll on you. Even if you're not a direct part of it, it will take a toll on you. And if you just stay out of it, if you just tell people that you love them, you're here for them, and you want to support them in any way you can, but you also don't want to be a part of it, that's fine. Sometimes you need to draw boundaries with people and tell them that, hey, I don't really want to hear all this negative stuff that you have to say about this person. For me, for example, I have this one person in my life who is a good friend, and it feels like every single time I'm with her, she brings up the same person that she's irritated with, and she's constantly spreading bad things about this girl, and she's telling me about all her negative experiences with her, but she also knows that I am friends with this other girl. And I feel like she's almost in a way trying to taint my view of this girl because she's had a negative experience with her. And of course, if those two aren't friends and they haven't had a great experience with each other, that's unfortunate. And I'm sorry that maybe she got hurt and I'm sorry that they aren't friends. But for me, if I'm friends with that girl, I don't need someone else's drama and gossip and bad experience with someone else ruining my friendship with this girl. This girl's never done anything to me. She's never done anything to hurt me or to harm me or to spread gossip about me. She's been nothing but kind and considerate to me. So when my friend starts to kind of bring this girl up and start spreading rumors about her and saying all this negative stuff about her, I'm like, "Oh, I don't really want to hear that. I don't really want to hear about that, because I know you don't really like her, but I've honestly never really had a bad experience with her, and so, I'm sorry that you had to deal with that with her, but, she and I are cool, so, let's just change the subject." It's honestly as simple as that. It and it does make a difference when you stop feeding into the gossip and the drama and the negativity and you start just shutting that down. It doesn't take a lot of work. Sometimes all it takes is just saying, "Hey, I don't really want to get into gossip. Like, I know you need to vent and that's fine, but I don't really want to hear all that negative stuff about someone. So let's just talk about something else." Especially if you've been caught up in it for a long time, you need to take a step away, and I'm telling you, you will notice a difference. The next healthy habit that has changed my life is journaling out my thoughts. I've talked about journaling before, but I really am a huge fan of it. I tend to hold on to a lot internally, so getting it out on paper and just letting my thoughts and feelings go always leaves me feeling so much better. And I no longer feel like I'm carrying this huge weight on the inside, but I feel like I release some of it. So if you haven't tried journaling, I want to tell you, just give it a try. I'm a huge fan of having an everything journal. I don't know if that's like an actual term. I don't know if anyone else has ever called it that, but that's what I call it. I call my journal my everything journal because I put goals in there. I put to-do lists. I put my favorite quotes. I put a bucket list. And then I also put prayers in there. It's literally a journal for everything. I write everything in my journal. Whatever's in my head and in my heart, I just put it on paper. And that always helps me feel like I've just let stuff go. I'm not holding on to it anymore. And that's so important because if we are going to be successful, we cannot get caught up on whatever is going on the inside. We need to let some of it go, especially when it comes to our quiet time with the Lord. I love journaling in my quiet time with the Lord. It helps me feel like I am communicating with him in a different way, and it just helps me get all of my prayers out. The next healthy habit that has changed my life is actually taking the time to take care of myself. And this looks like not skipping my skincare routine because I'm tired, or letting myself get out of exercising for that week, or telling myself, oh, I don't really need to eat healthy today. I've been eating junk food the last few days, but it's fine. I really do think it's so important that we actually take time to take care of ourselves. And for a lot of us, that's all it is. It's just a time issue. We just don't feel like taking the time to take care of ourselves. And I get it. I'm busy too. We all have hectic lives. We all have things we need to accomplish. We all have, different days where we're like, I just don't have time to do this. I just don't have time to do that. You got to make the time. If you don't make time, you're never going to get healthy. If you don't make time to do these healthy habits and to make them habits and do them consistently, you're never going to see the effects. If you exercise once a month, you're not going to see the effect like you would if you exercised 12 times a month. If you only ever ate healthy once a month, you're not going to see the same effect on your body or feel the same effect as you would if you were eating healthy consistently. If you're only journaling and spending quiet time with the Lord a couple times throughout the month, then you're going to notice a difference. You have got to take the time to really take care of yourself. I know it's time consuming, and I know sometimes it's hard. I know sometimes all you want to do is come home and sleep. Trust me, I get it. But building these healthy habits is what changes your life. When I say these things are life changers, I'm not lying. I'm not being facetious. I'm not clickbaiting. I'm telling you, these things have changed my life. Implementing these healthy habits into my life has made such a difference. I have honestly become a whole new person with whole new intentions and priorities that are so much better for me and have really proven to be beneficial in my life and helped me be more successful when I stopped just letting life happen to me and I started taking ownership over my mind, my heart, and my body. And I started implementing these healthy habits and not letting myself talk myself out of these things. I don't care how late at night it is. You need to take off your makeup. It's so important. Wash your face, girl. I don't care if you had a hard day at work. Go get your frustrations out by going for a run. I know that maybe you feel like you have to cook dinner instead of journaling. Please journal. It will help you get all the things that you're carrying on your shoulders out. I know that you feel like you don't have the time to implement these things. I know that you feel like you don't have time to meet up with that friend or that family member. You're going to notice a difference when you do meet up with them. You'll feel the burden come off your shoulders when you are refreshed by community. But really get into these healthy habits. Make the time to actually make these things habits. Be consistent with them. You will notice a difference and they will change your life. But that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and feel encouraged to really implement these things into your life to get yourself to a healthier place, not just physically, but also mentally and emotionally. In the next episode, we are doing a deep dive into Matthew 16, verses 24 through 26. So please come prepared to get into the word. If you enjoyed today's episode and felt like you really gained something from it, don't forget to leave a review and a rating so other listeners like you can be encouraged to tune in, and tag the podcast Instagram. It is at the Pour Over Pod, so I can see what you're getting out of these episodes and we can continue to build this community that we have. Thank you so much for listening, being a part of the P.O.P fam, and joining me on this journey. I love you guys, and I will see you next week.